Welcome back to another episode of Stories Sustain Us. I'm your host, Stephen Shower, and today we're diving into an inspiring conversation that will uplift and motivate you to make a difference. In episode 3, I have the pleasure of interviewing the remarkable UK-based youth activist, Ramandeep Nijjar. Ramandeep shares her journey of believing in oneself and developing a strong mindset to create positive change. She emphasizes the importance of a supportive network of family and friends in personal growth and success. And throughout our conversation, we explore how volunteering and engaging in charity work can be deeply fulfilling and provide a sense of purpose. We also touch on the significance of open conversations about mental health and seeking support for personal well-being. Ramandeep highlights how university life offers numerous opportunities to pursue your passions, connect with like-minded individuals, and make an impact through organizations and projects related to nature conservation and youth activism. Throughout the interview, Ramandeep encourages us to be kind, positive, and supportive in our interactions, to take small actions that contribute to making a positive difference, and to connect with communities that share our values. She passionately advocates for supporting and encouraging young voices in their efforts to create change. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by the incredible Ramandeep Nijjar here on Stories Sustain Us, where we are inspiring action through the power of storytelling. All right, well, welcome, Ramandeep. Thank you so much for joining me on Stories Sustain Us. How are you, I guess, this afternoon? You're over in England. It's morning for me over here in Seattle. So how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for inviting me to be a guest on your podcast. I'm excited to discuss with you certain things.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm super excited to have you. I don't know you, so it's nice to meet you kind of for the first time today. And we met through a mutual acquaintance, Dash, who I had on the show last week. So I appreciate his kind of connecting us through the Changemakers Alliance. And you're a young changemaker. You are a young university student over at the University of Reading. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So I'm a second year zoology student, but I like getting involved with lots of different things. And I think I never really thought of myself as a change maker, but over 2 years, I feel like when you start, I guess, doing things, people kind of give you that label. And I've now realised that maybe it's not a bad thing to want to make things better. So I'm proud to say that I'm a young change maker and yeah, like everything that I do.
Yeah, well, you're doing an amazing amount of things, way more than I was doing at your age. I was when I was at university at your age, I was playing football. We call it soccer over here, but that's what I did. And you're just doing all of these things, and we'll get to that in a minute. But first, tell me a little bit about your journey. Like, where are you from? What kind of family you from? What have you been doing prior to getting to university? How did you get to this point in your life? What's your story, Ramandeep?
So I'm 19, so probably going to be one of your younger guests. But I guess it all began for me in primary school, and I'm really thankful for that school because I think it set me up for the rest of my life because we had a slogan which was "Believe it, achieve it," and I feel like that's always been ingrained in me. Like if you have faith to do something and you have enough strong mindset, like you can do anything that you want to. So yeah, I think I really enjoyed my time there. I was definitely a tomboy. Like you, I would come home with grass stains on my shirt 'cause I'd be playing football at lunchtime. But I think it just really, our teachers were really supportive and they really instilled in us as young people that whatever we wanted to achieve, if we wanted to do it, we could like give it a go. And I think that was really great because you need to instill in young people that sense of self-belief because then who knows what they could achieve. Then after that, I went to a selective grammar school. So I'm from near Birmingham in the Midlands in the UK. And that was also another great experience because they encourage you to do things outside of studies as well. And because I'm dyslexic, sometimes studies can be a bit more challenging. So I could put my extra energy into sports, like any sport I would be content with. And then I've always loved also charity work. So because I've always wanted to make a positive difference to others and people say like you're helping others, but I feel like it also helps me so much, like one of the volunteering
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
charity things I do.
Yeah.
It's just so fulfilling, and I don't know, you just meet good people, and I feel like everything I do, I'm just so thankful to be surrounded by such kind, lovely, good people to keep you on the right path. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, throughout my senior school, I was able to do a lot of like events organizing, and I think that really has led me to do a lot of things at university. Um, so one of the things that I did in school was they had an anti-bullying team, and I was able to lead that in my final year. And we would have different monthly themes which we focused on, so things like Earth Day, LGBTQ plus History Month, Black History Month, and it was all about trying to celebrate different themes to encourage more inclusion within the school. And then I think I did other things as well, but I think also a lot of the stuff I did outside of school. So I did girl guiding since I was 5, because I just
Girl
love.
guiding, is that
Yeah.
kind of like equivalent to what would be the Girl Scouts in the
Yes.
States?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's similar to your. So we have scouts here as well, so very similar. So, and I think because my parents saw from an early age that I was most happiest outdoors, but they thought, let's put her in a group so at least she's safe.
Sure, sure,
Um,
sure.
and I'm very grateful that they let me to do that, because they're still some of my closest friends today. Those, because when you're out camping or out in nature, you've got no other like I'm obviously talking through a device, but you've probably got no phone connection. So when you're
Right.
camping, you've just got that one-on-one connection, and it's still something that I love. Like being able to, when you go camping, just completely disconnect and have like a little nature bubble for a few
Yeah.
days just
Yeah.
to recharge. I was actually a young leader for that unit for 2 years, but sadly it was during COVID, so we had a lot of
Oh,
Zoom meetings, but it was
sure.
still a challenging but new experience, how to still make engaging sessions while you're on Zoom. So we did a lot of things like virtual campouts, a lot of virtual games. We did like quite a few virtual bake-offs, which was quite fun,
Nice.
like all the parents seeing the mess in their kitchens, but we all had fun
Yeah. I
doing
don't know
it.
how popular the Great British Bake Off is actually in Britain, but it's like one of my favorite shows. So
No, it's definitely popular here. Like when you know it's on, because a lot of people from, even if they never had an interest with baking outside, will be watching it still. And
yeah,
there's certain
it's such a
shows
great show.
where everyone watches it and wants to know what's going on. So Bake Off's
Yeah, yeah,
definitely
we love it.
one of those.
That's great. So tell me, let me back you up a little bit. And so you mentioned your parents. Do you have any other siblings
Yes.
or yeah? So tell me a little bit more about your family, if that's okay. Like what,
Yes, of course.
yeah.
So I'm from a Sikh background. That's
Okay.
the faith in our
Yes.
family, and I
Yeah.
feel it's very something that I care a lot about, because even though I study a science degree, I feel like it's given me great morals, my
Yeah.
faith, and it's always something that I carry with me, just as something
Wonderful.
whenever you need something to turn back to. It's just always within me, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky that my family are very supportive. I have an older sister, and she's always been very inspiring for me, because she's always, with similar things, with whatever she's done, she's always done it with confidence, with grace, and she's just been incredible. So to have someone to follow, I guess, is really amazing. And I think also my parents have also been very supportive in my passions. They've not probably understand it sometimes, like sometimes they just think, oh, it's from its nature thing, but they've never held me
Yeah.
back, and which has been really great. They've always pushed me to whatever my dreams have been, is to how can they best support me and put me forward to that. So I know when we were growing up, we would often have we'd have a static caravan which was near Stratford upon Avon, and that
Yeah.
also had no internet, but often we'd spend weekends there, and it was just, for me, total bliss to be immersed in nature. And I think if I didn't have that connection with nature from an early age, I don't think I would have wanted it. Well, I don't think I would have felt that I want it to be my career,
Sure.
working, protecting it. And I think often young people have passions, but they kind of die out, which I think is such a shame. Whereas luckily that never happened for me, because they always continually supported that and thought of like, how else can we support Raman through her nature journey. And yeah, they've just always supported me. And I think like both my parents have always said, like, had the same thing, like, you can do anything you put your mind to, and they've always supported me to like push myself. And yeah, I just guess dream big and try and see what happens.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Your parents sound like lovely people, and I want to thank them for helping you along as well, because we need folks like you that are gonna, work hard and do your best to try to help us out. Because folks my age and older have kind of made a mess of things. So appreciate you coming along and jumping into everything
Well,
that
I'm
you're
very
doing.
grateful because, yeah, often they're my sounding board. Like, I would just be like, what's your advice on this? And who knows, I mean, like, you
Perfect.
always need someone that you can just, yeah, like, have a conversation with just to check if you're on the right track.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. Not everybody has that
Yeah, I know,
closeness with
I'm
their
very
family. So
fortunate.
that's, yeah, what a wonderful opportunity that you have to have that upbringing and carry that forward into your life. And so an older sister and is that your only sibling that you have as well?
Yes, my only sibling. I think there is 9 years between us, so I think
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
quite a big gap. But I think when I was younger, we probably didn't spend as much time together or like connect as much just
Sure.
because of the age gap. Like when I was in school, she was going to university, but I think now that
Sure.
I'm older, we connect a lot more. Just because, yeah, just I feel like when you're older, you're able to probably have a better conversation than when there's a 9 year
Yeah.
age gap. You're at completely different
Yeah.
stages of your life.
Absolutely. I have my oldest sister is 10 years older than me. And so it's a very similar story. We connected more as adults than, as you said, when I was 8 and she was already out of the house and
Mm.
going to university, then, what are we going to talk about? So, but yeah, as we have grown older together, we've certainly become closer. And, my middle sister as well, connected more with her as an adult. So, very similar understanding of your path there as well. So you're in, grade school and you're starting to experience these things. You mentioned you'd already started doing volunteer work at a young age. What were some of the volunteer activities that you participated in prior to the long list of things we're going to get into here shortly about what you're doing now? But it sounds like you've been active in volunteerism for quite a while. So what were some of the first things that you did that kind of gave you that understanding that you mentioned that when you're doing good for others, it also is beneficial to you too? So tell me a little bit
Yes.
more about that.
While I was in school, I think it was about 3.5 to 4 years, I volunteered with a homeless charity. They were called Midland Lunga Service Society, so it's linked to like my Sikh faith. But they would serve anyone any food they needed. It was
Mm-hmm.
once a week in Birmingham, and that was really nice because sometimes I'd go along with my father and we do it together. So it was really nice that we were
Nice.
able to share that same once a week giving back to other people. I think that was also a really great experience because I can't remember the year it is, but they every year at the main train station in Birmingham, they do like a Christmas party where about 200 to 300 people from homeless families or less financially able to just come have a full Christmas dinner, have gifts with Santa, and I was able to volunteer on one of the days, and that was a really lovely experience just to dress up with a Santa hat, go around and
Nice.
spread some festive cheer, which was really lovely. But I think, yeah, I did that for quite a while, and it was all weathers we would do it. But I think even if it's cold and rainy, just to be able to give something back, I think I would enjoy it every single moment, and you always just felt part of a wider team. I think I then did a lot of my volunteering in school, so I did girl guiding throughout, but I did a lot of things within my school, like organising charity events through there. For example, when Ukraine, the Ukraine fundraisers were going on, we did a whole week of fundraisers at my school and things like that. And just because of that school community, so we'd like every year do different community drives, and I think it was just a really great stepping stone. So then I could then develop those skills in a safe environment. But I think volunteering's always been something that I've continued to do. So even when like the pandemic came along and everyone was like, "Oh, there's probably no volunteering you can do," well, I discovered another project called Spreading Kindness, and they were sending letters to elderly residents in care homes because they couldn't see their family. So then I was then able to help write letters for them just to say a little bit about what I've been doing. And one actually wrote back and was really lovely. She was 98 and she said like, "Oh, we don't have much connection, but like at the moment, because obviously everyone's staying in their bubbles, but your letters really lift my spirit, because seeing someone being
Aw,
really energetic about life really helps keep them going. And it was really sweet,
yeah.
because a lot of
How beautiful.
children from primary schools like sent drawings and artwork. I could never do artwork, so I would just stick to the letters, but
Yeah.
just things like that. I think it was really nice just to see like the community coming together and wanting to still do something.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I appreciate you sharing that story. That warmed my heart. That's lovely.
And it warmed me, and it gave me a purpose during lockdown. Like, oh, obviously I had online school, but it gave me something to look forward to, like once a week. Like,
Yeah.
right. And I think now I do journaling from starting those letters, just for my personal thing. But it gave me something, because it means that you reflect on the week, think about what went well, what was good, what was not, and then that's what journaling often is aimed to do. So I still continue to do that.
I journal as well for those reasons. Yeah, I tried. I have a daily goal of journaling. I don't hit my daily goal, but
I don't
I
either.
certainly
I have to catch up once a week.
Yeah, I get it once or twice a week as well. That's about all I do. But it is a daily ambition. But it is such a powerful thing to kind of put your thoughts down in writing. It helps me. It sounds like it's similar to you. It helps me kind of process, what's been going on, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. So yeah, it's such a powerful.
And if you're going through a rough day, you can just look back at your journal and see what another amazing days that you've had before, and then
Absolutely. Yeah. Geez, Louise, you've learned all this at such a young age. It took me, I was in my 30s before I realized the power of journaling. So
there's a lot of things that I've still got to learn. A lot.
You do, but there's so much about you that I'm just thrilled to know and impressed by. So you're finishing school, your grammar school, and you're getting ready to move on to university. I don't know if it's how does that work in the UK? Do you get to you have to apply to different universities, and so tell me that process, how you wound up at the university where you are now.
Yes. So I was very lucky. So we did GCSEs and then we did A levels. So I currently study zoology, but I for a long period of time thought I was going to be doing veterinary, just because I've always had that interest with animals, and as soon as people say animals, they're like, oh, become a vet. I did a placement, I think it was when I was 16. That was at a veterinary practice. I loved it. It was a great few weeks, but just something didn't feel right. I was like, it's a really great experience, but I can't see myself doing this every day. And then luckily after the pandemic, I was looking for places to get work experience, and there was an outdoor conservation park near where I live, where they have, it's like a zoo but more for endangered animals. Okay. And they took me on for a few weeks, and that was life changing. Like getting to be like some people, it's not their like ideal job, like cleaning animal enclosures, but I guess just for me, who was so fascinated by animals, getting to have that unique experience of being able to be so close to them, and then also talk to members of the general public about these animals that I loved. I really enjoyed those experiences, and I think they then met the keepers there, and they all told me like their backgrounds, that they studied ecology, zoology, and for me that was all very new. Like I'd never really thought that you could have whole degrees dedicated to these topics. So I then thought, okay, I'm going to study zoology because that's now my thing. So you then do A levels, and then you select 5 universities, and then you from that, if they like your personal statement, which is where you write a little bit about yourself, they will then give you offers or not give you offers, and then based on that you put like a ranking of like a first and a second choice, and then on results day, based on what grades you get, you hopefully get one of those first or second choices. Whereas for me, I actually went through something called clearing, which is where if you don't meet the grades, you then call around universities and see if they have any spaces opening up. So because what happened was, I never really talk about this too much, but during my final exams, one of my close friends sadly passed away.
Oh no.
Yeah, so
sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
I talk about it now.
Yeah. Okay.
But that meant you try not to process it, but I caught the bus with her like every day, even though she wasn't in my year group. Like it really rocked the group of people that I caught the bus with. So I think I didn't do as well on one of my one of my subjects that I wanted to. But in a way, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because the university that I'm at now wasn't actually on my radar. It was only when I was looking around for clearing, I called them and just said, "Hi, I'm looking for a zoology place." And they said, "We've got some spaces available and we really like your personal statement. So why don't you come join us?" And now I can't see any different, because I'm so happy here at Reading. So everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it's hard to see that in the moment. So I certainly send you my condolences for the loss of your friend. That's hard at any age, and that grief can certainly impact us, right? So it makes sense that some of your testing didn't go as well during that time. But yeah, what a positive outcome that you were able to make out of it by finding this new opportunity.
That's probably, like, I've always cared about mental health campaigning. Like, we'll talk more about I do a lot of nature campaigning too, but I think one of the, like, I care a lot about mental health campaigning, and I think since then it kind of spurred me on to do a lot more. I guess because you never know what someone's going through, and it's so hidden. So who knows, that one conversation, that one post, that one thing might be the lifesaver, or help make a difference to someone.
That's great. That's a great sentiment, great advice. Yeah, we tend to put up our masks and not let people know what's going on inside, so that recognizing that everybody has something that they're dealing with on the inside, and trying to live a life of empathy and compassion. That's such an important thing for me as well. So
yes, definitely. And I just think like I'm quite an open book, just because for me it's too tiring to have two different personalities. But I'd say I know why people do that, because they're often probably scared of judgment or what people will think. But I just say, like, just be yourself, like, whatever it is, because if you will connect with people, you will find people, and it's so much easier. Like, you might not think about it initially, but for me, like, now growing over the last few years, it's so much easier just to be my weird, crazy self, because there are people out there that will have the same interests or connect with me at some point. So
that, again, such wise thoughts and advice. I've got a guest coming on in a few weeks that's works in the field of mental health, and trying to normalize conversations around mental health issues, so that people can find the support that they need and the help that they need, so they don't have to not only have whatever they're battling on the inside, but then also have to deal with the fear of, well, what if I tell somebody I need help? So that's such an important thing for me as well, is to provide people safe spaces to acknowledge they need help, and then do what you can to support them.
Even if you think you're in a good place and you'd want support, like, it's not a bad thing to want that support. Like,
right.
Because I know this year, university, if you want to, they offer like 6 counselling sessions. So I did that this year. Great. Just because
good for you.
I don't know, just because I've always never done it before, and I've always had a lot of imposter syndrome, and I thought, well, I don't want it to stop what I'm doing, so let's actually work out why this is happening, what the roots are. And it was just really great, because for me it actually, like, helped me to think about things a lot differently. And I think a lot of the things that I'm probably sharing with you would probably be from what she said in the sessions, but it's really helped me. So who knows if it can help you.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you've taken advantage of that. I've done therapy in my life as well, and I wouldn't be doing the show and having conversations with strangers as well if I didn't do some of the personal work that I needed to do on some of those inner things as well. So good for you. I'm really happy to hear that it was a good experience, and that it's helped you, and a great message for whoever might be listening or watching to this, that help is available. You don't have to do things alone or suffer by yourself. So
definitely. And even if it's not like a professional support, just seek out a friend or someone, like, just have a coffee, or like have the conversation. I know it's really hard to start the conversation, but once you take that step, like, it will really help. And people will be more than happy to help you. They just don't know what you're going through. So
that's been my experience as well. That first step is always the hardest, but I've always found a close network of friends that are there, and then I can be there for them too, because we all need that support system. So that's wonderful. So tell me, a little bit now. So you've wound up at university. How far away is this? Your first time away from your home and to move to a different part of the UK? What's the distance between you and your family now?
Yeah, so it's about 2 hours, I'd say, on the train. But we have some family nearby, so it's not too bad. And I think also with the power of social media, like you can always stay up to date and connected. Like I'm always like on messages, like updating how my days are going, how it went, and I think yeah, I think at the first it was a bit of an adjustment because obviously when you see your family like every day and then moving away, but I think once you have a routine, once you get things that you're involved with, you find like a family away from family. I don't that makes sense. Like a lot of my friends I would call kind of my family a bit because just you get really close really quickly once you have really big conversations. And I think a lot of my closest friends I'd say like are on my course, or I was part of a hiking society, so you'd be going out on weekends exploring new places together. And the same thing, like you haven't got your like devices, so you have to have meaningful conversations with one another. But the amount of conversations and the topics you talk about have just been really interesting, and you just get to know each other really well. And I think luckily as well, because we have like terms ends, like periods of time where term ends, so you can go back, and you're always connected. So I think it's made things a lot easier. And at least when I call them now, I've got really exciting things to talk to them about, and they also have exciting things to tell me. So it's been really nice.
Good. So you're a zoology student, and you are involved in a lot of stuff outside of being a student. Tell me a little bit about some of those things that you have a passion for, that you're working on, that you're leading. I know I don't want to steal your thunder. I know you've founded some things, co-founded some things, and so tell me a little bit about your journey now that you're in university, and obviously paying attention to your grades and your classwork and everything, but all this other extracurricular activity that you're doing. Let me know what that's like, because it's fascinating what I've seen you post on LinkedIn and other places. You're just involved in so many things.
Yes, so I wear a lot of different hats.
You do.
But I think what's been really great is because at school we obviously had studies, but I think they were just more generalized, so they're not as specific to your passions. But whereas when you're at university, often what you're studying is your passion, and you're just surrounded by people that have that same energy for their subject that you do as well. So it's been really great to try and match my volunteer roles with that same passion of wanting to build those skills. So let's see if we can bring the two together. So in my first year, we had a mammals lecturer in our second term, and he was talking about the plight of UK mammals. And he said like, oh, I'm really knowledgeable around hedgehogs and urban mammals in the UK. Maybe we can set up a student group if anyone's keen, but I say the same thing every year and like no one's really keen. And then me and my friend Nilo looked at each other and said, well, you like organising things. I've always wanted to do something. So why don't we join forces and set something up? So we founded the Hedgehog Society in our halfway through our first year. I wasn't originally planning on setting up a society because that's normally not what you do in your first year. You just join different ones.
Sure.
But I'm really glad that I did, because we were able to set it up, and we've done so much with it, and I think it allowed me to find a purpose at the university and share my passion for event organising, connecting people with events, just creating a lovely community. And I've always wanted to learn more hands-on conservation skills, like camera trapping, which is where you put like cameras around mobile cameras around campers, or like survey techniques. So we did something called a footprint tunnel survey, which is where you get these like cardboard tunnels, and then you put a piece of paper in the middle, and then if an animal through the night has used the tunnel, you'll see its footprints. So you do it for a week, and then it's like an indirect way of trying to see what kind of animals might be there. So we were then seeing like, where are the actual hedgehogs on campus if we're trying to help them. So it was really exciting then when you get hedgehog prints and you're like, haha, we have found you. You're in this area. But yeah, so we've just handed over to the new committee, but we ran it for about 15 to 16 months with Nilo, and we had about a team of 70 members. So I think it was my first role of such a big team. How do we get all these different people engaged? And also it was really great. A lot of them aren't from zoology, ecology courses, so it's like, how do we still get them involved? And even though we were called the Hedgehog Society, we did a lot of broader wildlife nature events. It was just more about getting people engaged with nature, wildlife, conservation things and that they might not have ever thought about before. And then also our socials were also because I'm not a drinker of like alcohol, like I don't drink alcohol, and I'm not really like a clubbing type of person. But I think sometimes at university you feel like you need to be that kind of person to socialize, to fit in. Whereas with our society, we would do things like board game nights, quiz nights, craft nights, so other fun things like that. So then people that didn't find those things the most appealing, they had another safe space where they could make friends and get to know other people.
Yeah, wonderful.
But yeah, I think it's just, I look back on it and it's really helped me grow my confidence because you're then speaking to wider university staff, different university teams. We connected with a lot of people like outside the university, like local environmental groups and just things like that. I guess it just gives you that, if you're representing something, you've got like a little thing to start the conversation with, like, oh, I'm representing this group. Do you want to hear a little bit more about it? So after I did that, then there was a David Attenborough series called Wild Isles. You probably might have heard of it because and they then had a campaign afterwards called Save Our Wild Isles, which was encouraging community initiatives to like get involved with different things. So after that, I then looked like, what can I do? Because I really like running the society, but I'm a bit more like want to do bigger picture things. So that's when I then discovered the UK campaigning group called UK Youth for Nature. So we're a team of youth creative campaigners, and we try and make campaigning exciting and do like creative spin-offs on that to get more young people engaged with nature and things. So I had the introduction call with them, I think about May last year, but I then didn't properly start getting involved until after my exam, so I think it was about July. Because then June to July, as you can probably see, I'm always doing things. I was then in Croatia
you're moving.
For a month where I was based in Kirka National Park doing like a month of different like taxonomic surveys with the organisation Operation Wallasey. And that was a really great experience because you have this you do your course and it's all about different animals and species, but you never really get that like seeing them in real life. So to have a whole month of being able to go with these experienced survey leaders and like actually see these species in person and then how to survey them, watch them, record them, it was amazing. And then on that trip realized.
And what species were you recording and observing? What were you seeing?
All sorts. We saw like loads of different reptiles. We saw like different insects with those surveys, like to do with like crickets and grasshoppers. We got one of the big highlights was we didn't see them, but we found prints of wolf tracks.
Wow.
And that was like the first time in that area. So the group that I was with when we saw them with like the survey leaders, we all had that same like, oh my goodness, this is just incredible. And then of course when they when on the one of the earning surveys they did, they found an injured hedgehog that needed like was dehydrated, and of course they then call me and they're like, is Raman there? Like we found a dehydrated hedgehog. So then me and then two of the people from the mammals team then they placed it into a plastic box and we then just gave it some water, and then it meant that we could then eventually re-release it. But there was just it was a really great experience because normally people come for like 1 week, 2 weeks, but I went for a month because in my I think it was when I was 16 or 17, they were organising at my school like a charity trip to Nepal. But obviously COVID hit, so that all got cancelled. So I'd fundraised all this money to take me on this trip. But I couldn't then spend it because it got cancelled. So I always had that bank of money ready to go. And then as soon as I saw this, I thought, well, why not use it to help me get that surveying experience, because I put all that effort in trying to fundraise it. So first 2 weeks you then get put for like on the different survey leader, you get a rota, so you're then told which surveys you can get involved with, and then often there's optional surveys, so if you want to get a bit more experience, you can just sign up to those. So I basically did as much as I could, just because I thought, I'm here, I might be completely exhausted, but let's just make the most of it. And then after that, because I was then for another 2 weeks, they asked if we could take a more of a leadership role. So when new people were coming to the base, we would then show them around, tell them how things work. We also had quite a few high school students come, so I was able to then, with a friend, give a guest lecture on like the importance of what the work we were doing at the base, like how it contributes to their science and things like that. So that was really exciting because I'd not really done a lecture before, like of that scale or that those topics. So to be able to say like, oh, I've jointly given a lecture was a really nice experience. And then to also think of activities to get them involved. So we then had a specific team that we had to join for the final 2 weeks. So I chose the birds teams just because I really found on that trip that for some reason the birds just captivated me. Like, even though it was very early morning starts, because we'd have to go before like the dawn chorus, which was like normally quite early, like 4 or 5 o'clock starts in the morning.
Sure.
But just to see the sunrise and like in the early morning for me was just pure magic, and I didn't mind the early starts. So that then led to me after that trip thinking, oh, I still want to do something with birds. What's out there? And then that helped me discover the British Trust for Ornithology was recruiting new members for their youth team, and I thought, well, I have a thing for birds, so let's just see where it goes. I'm not as much knowledgeable as probably the people in the youth team who have been birding or bird watching for all their life, but you have to start somewhere. So I did the application process and the interview, and then ended up joining. So then in the first a few days in September, I then got to go along to their annual get together and like meet a lot of the team. And since then, I'm still part of that team, and like now running a few birding events for people in different areas, getting to lead them to give them a safe space for them to learn about bird watching with another group of young people. And then with them, it's also been really exciting because I really care about like equity, diversity, inclusion. So I now lead the working group focused on that, and we now work with wider staff on different things. So that's been really great. So for example, we did a workshop on International Women's Day in March, and we've now just launched a women's network for BTO. We had the first meeting this week.
So what is BTO stand for?
So that's the British Trust for Ornithology.
Okay.
Sorry, I know I do a lot of things, so I get excited.
That's want to make sure that everybody understands what you're chatting about. So continue. I just want to make sure we understood what the acronym was. Excited. No problem. You're doing great.
But so that's been really great. And then with that as well, we partnered with other organisations I think it was February, they did a Youth in Nature Summit, which is where it was like a conference, but just for young people. And that was really great because like the first day was all around giving young people the skills that they needed to do. So I then was able to run a session with a friend, Shannis, where we did something on youth campaigning and like how encouraging young people, like how they can use their voice to make a positive difference. And then the second day was
it's like campaigning for voting or getting people engaged in any type of advocacy work.
So it's any nature, climate, or anything. I think it's more just trying to show the array of things that can be involved in campaigning. Because often when I say campaigning, they say like, oh, you have to write to your MP, sign in a petition, attend a protest. That's what campaigning is, which are all parts of campaigning. But you can also write a song, you can write a social media post, you can write a poem, you can have a conversation with someone, you can draw a picture, you can organize an event, just getting people together. You can go to your local cafe and just say, can we organize a session where we just get people to come together to discuss a certain topic? That's all forms of campaigning. So there's very broad things that can be. So like, for example, one form of campaigning might be filmmaking. So that was also what I worked on in the summer after co-creation of a project called Young Voices for Nature, where they got 200 young people across the UK, and we made like a collective film together about nature and what it means to us, and encouraging other young people like what our journeys were, so they could then see that and then realize like they can also take the step of doing something. So we had people there that like set up a community garden or take pictures of plants or just I think it was just I really love being part of bigger movements or bigger things, because you feel like that, like often you can feel like, oh, I don't have the right skills for this, but if you join with a team of other people, then someone eventually in that team will have that skill that you need, and then together you can achieve something that's bigger and better, and amazing.
Right. So you said the film was Young Voices for Nature. Did I catch that correctly?
Correct.
Is that available to be seen?
Yes.
Can we post that on as part of the show notes for people to see it?
Definitely. So it's on YouTube. So I'll share the link with you, and you can share it. So it's a 20-minute short film, but it was made by young people for young people. So there was the staff from RSPB, so that's the Royal Society for Protection for Birds in the UK, WWF in the UK, and the National Trust.
It's World Wildlife Foundation for folks who may not know that one.
World Wildlife Fund.
Yeah.
And then the National Trust in the UK, and then there was a creative agency called World Pencil. So therefore, staff teams basically came together to then be able to facilitate it, because often it was all done on Zoom, but we'd have about 40 young people who've all got that energy and got these ideas going off, but they don't know where to put it or how to structure it. So that's why those staff came in to then moderate it, to make sure we stayed on track to actually be able to bring the film together. But I think it was really nice because they never said something was a bad idea or not a good idea. It was just more like, how can we adapt as many of these ideas together to have all of your visions, your ideas together to make something special.
Right. So I can't wait to see it. Looking forward to watching it.
And it's been, for me, it was really great as well, just to find like young people who were wanting to use their voice to make a difference. Yeah. So since then, like 12 of us from that film project are now working on a new project, which is a youth nature podcast, because we found each other through that project. And we were first originally a bit worried, like, how will we actually get funding to actually make this happen? And then in April, another organisation in the UK called the Woodlands Trust, they have a competition which is called Igniting Innovation, where any young people who've got any sort of like startup projects that they need funding for, you can apply and you can enter this competition. And then in April, the final short selected few will then pitch their ideas to a few of their judges. And then it's like it was kind of like Dragon's Den. You're like, can we have this money? This is what we bring. Like, please let us.
I think it's a similar show called Shark Tank in the US. I think, where you're pitching your ideas to some folks who will support you or not support you depending on your pitch.
Luckily for us, because it was a pot of money and there were 6 groups, we all knew that we were going to get some funding, but what we were pitching for was the level of funding. And then they pair you up with a mentor, so they were really sweet actually. Like, we were all very nervous, like, oh, we've got little cue cards, like, how are we going to approach this? But together, when we all have that same vision or same passion or same direction we want to go in, I think it just came out. And then in the end, we now from there got £4,000 funding, and we've now just launched our website. So if people are interested, I can share the link with that. But that's more.
Yes, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be a youth storytelling podcast about nature, but what we're really keen on is we know a lot of young people and a lot of us are on this journey, so we want our podcast to hopefully be a platform for people on that journey. So they're not established people, but how can people see them on their journey at the start of it? And all of them have different interests, and also a lot of young people might have the idea that you have to be fully into nature to care about it, whereas you don't need to. It could just be something on your walk to school or something that's a side hobby. Right. Like, we need everyone to do their small part to make their difference for nature and planet, really.
Absolutely. Well, that is an amazing amount of work that you've done in 2 years, or it's somewhere around 18 months to 24 months. That is phenomenal. I talk to folks, much older than you that probably don't have a CV as that lengthy so far. So Really incredible. I can't wait to support your podcast when you get it up and running, and listen to it, and like it and follow it, and make sure you're getting that
Thank
support as
you.
well, and encourage everybody who may be listening to this podcast to do the
Well,
same, because
luckily
we
I'm
need to
part of
support young
yeah,
people.
luckily I'm part of a team of like other young people, and I think that's what's really great is all of us are trying to make our way in the sector, and we all support one another. So if anyone sees an
Yeah,
opportunity, we'll share it. I think that's why I've also found really lovely is because with anything I do, I always want to share it with other people or share opportunities with
yeah,
other people because often people say like, why do you do that? Do you not want to just keep the opportunity to yourself? And I said, but why not? If there's someone out there that could be perfect for that opportunity, like
right,
that's why I share it
right,
because like I'm not every opportunity might not be right for me, but there might be someone that I'm connected with that it's perfect for, and then they can then put an application in and then maybe get that opportunity.
right.
So why not share?
That's such a healthy and beautiful way of thinking about, how to live your life, connecting other people to opportunities, because your opportunities are going to come too, and they might, find something that is better for you as well. So what a smart way, and a,
And I
and a
think that's
really
also
healthy
what's
way of looking
helped
at
me with
things.
the obviously I'm saying like a lot of smaller projects, but I think one I found like
Yeah,
as soon as you do one thing, someone might lead you into the direction of the next thing, and being open to
right.
that, I guess, is really helped me with a lot of the things that I do, and just keeping connected with people, and just I guess being open to what's out there because often people don't know about all these things happening, but all you have to do is look a little bit, and you never know like the advantage of the internet. The possibilities are endless, and even like I'm obviously telling you about the projects that I've got successful. There's a long list of ones or long list of opportunities that I've not been successful for, but I think it's just knowing that you can give it a go, put the application in, and even though it's hard, if you get rejected, like it might not be the right opportunity for you, and something else will come your way. And I'm still learning
Yeah,
with this, just because every time I put an application in, I feel really passionate. I'm like, oh, this would be amazing to be a part of, and I really care so much. But I think it's taking a step back and knowing it's okay if it doesn't happen, because I've seen it before that the right thing will hopefully come along when it needs to be.
absolutely. Just trying putting yourself out there, that'll open those doors at the right time. So, Ramandeep, what, as we're kind of getting, towards the end here of the conversation, um, what's your call to action? What would you, want folks who are listening to this or watching this? What would you want them to do? How can they support you or the different activities you're in, or what would you suggest that they do? So, love to hear your thoughts about what people can do to get engaged or get involved or be supportive of the many things that you're so passionate about.
Definitely. So I'd say, firstly, if you want to get connected with me, you can share my LinkedIn, and that's probably the best
Yep.
place to get connected with me. I'd say for any of the organisations, you could just look them up on the internet, or we can share links to them. I know a lot of them are UK focused, but I'd say wherever you are, there's probably whatever you want to do. There's like a lot of opportunities, so just keep an eye out for them, look out for them, and then I guess also don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because often people are afraid to like ask the questions or start something, but you never know where it might lead you to. So say if there's a community garden group, or I don't know, a beginners bird watching group, and you're worried like, oh, I don't know what it would be like, just please take the step, because once you're in and once you find someone, like you never know what the benefits will be. And I guess also a lot of people get overwhelmed with the nature and the climate crisis and realize think it's too big to do anything. But if we all do a small thing, like whatever it might be, whether it's talk to someone, sharing an article, as I said before, like reading a book or writing a poem, like a small action, if we all do it collectively, it will make a bigger impact. And I guess just
Yeah.
also, if you know any young people, like encouraging them to use their voice, just because I speak to a lot of young people, and they have a lot of ideas, but they don't have the confidence. So I think maybe backing them and
Sure.
knowing that they have the support, and they don't need to have everything figured out. Like it's okay for them to not know. Like I'm talking a lot about things, but I'm still always learning. And for example, you've been kind enough to invite me on your podcast to actually share my thoughts. I think just giving young people that support, because I think as soon as people find that confidence within themselves or have that self-esteem, like the world is their oyster, like who knows where they might go, they might then spread that confidence with other people. Like that's what I do in a lot of my things. Like I'm really passionate, so I think of like how can I use my spaces that I'm in to help create more opportunities for more young people, so it's a ripple effect, so then they continue to then share it with other people. And I think just also knowing that there is, like we were saying about this before, like there is hope and there is always a way forward and positive difference. And if you feel like you're alone and feeling somewhere like in a certain way, you're not. Like there's so many online communities out there. Like for example, you're all the way in America, I'm in the UK, but we both have that same passion for wanting to bring positive change, care a lot about sustainability and the environment, and we connected through a virtual alliance. So with social media, like obviously there are some negatives, but I think also like you can connect with such incredible people. So just, I guess, look out for those alliances, those networks, those opportunities, and who knows who you might find or what opportunity might be out there for you.
Well, that's a great list of things the folks can do. I definitely, I'll talk with you offline because I do want to get all the links to the organizations that you talked about so we can share those in the show notes. And, the connection and taking that step, all of that is hard to do sometimes to get that first step, but it's so important to do it, like you said. And you touched on hope a little bit and the importance of holding on to hope. And that's how I'm ending every podcast episode is talking with the guests about hope. Hope is this idea that we can envision a better future and that we can do something to get there. It's not that it won't be difficult and that we won't have, setbacks and challenges, but there's a thought of a better future and a feeling of agency that I can do something to get to that better future. So I want to ask you a little bit about what makes you hopeful. And so I'm going to throw 3 questions at you and just kind of give me your answers. This isn't, kind of a rapid response kind of question, and look forward to hearing what your thoughts are. So the first question is, what is your vision for a better future? And it can be for you personally, professionally, or for the world. Like what are you hopeful for? What's your vision for a better future?
Well, that's a big question. I think my vision would be people are kind. Just because I think people often you see on the news there's so much negativity and hate, but we don't need that in this world, but we need more kindness, love, support. And even if it's just a simple conversation or just a simple smile, like you never know where it could lead to. And I think we need more positivity. So I'd say encourage you where you can to be that positive person. And you never know, that person might see you maybe having a really bad day and they just need a little pick me up, and then they see you being really happy, and then it spreads that joy to them. And I think often I found like a lot of people, you see a lot of people want to there's a lot of division, or people think like they're always competing with one another, whereas I don't know why we do that. Whereas everyone can, if we're like, I get it in like the corporate world, and they're often like with how fast paced and everything, everyone always seems to think like they need to do better than everyone. But I think together, I've seen if you're part of a bigger picture or a bigger difference, we can all make a big change together. And if you find those communities, those teams, you can all strive together. So I guess connecting with other people and just sharing whatever skills or expertise you have, because someone will benefit from them. Like we found with a lot of alliances, like when you're found that thing that you're really interested in, there'll be someone out there that would benefit from you sharing that, and then they might share their expertise with you, and then together you're both benefiting and both growing. So I guess sharing more and just maybe being more kind. And also I guess sharing the narrative of it's also sometimes okay to take a slow day or take a breather, because I know I'm not as good as that. But I think when you do take those moments just to actually step back and enjoy life, that you can actually appreciate a lot more like of the things that you have.
Sure.
And just be grateful for what life can offer you, I guess. Whereas when you're in that fast pace all the time, you don't often sometimes take time to actually realize all the amazing things that you're doing or that you have, I guess.
Yeah. So I think you answered the second question already, but I'll put it out there just to see if there's anything else you want to add. So you have a vision for a future where there's people that are more kind and more loving and taking time to enjoy and appreciate and be grateful for life and helpful to each other. Now, why is that your vision? I said, I think you already answered that, but is there anything else you'd like to say around that?
I think just because if people find that confidence within themselves, it doesn't just help them, it helps everyone around them, because then they're more likely to then want to share what they can with the world. And I think I've seen it with like the Changemakers Alliance or other communities that I'm part of. Like, it's infectious. Like, you just feel so much more motivation and more inspiration when someone's just so kind or sharing like something that just has set that fire within them, and it's contagious. Like, whenever I love something like TED Talks, which are like talks from when they're like short 10 to 20-minute talks from experts, and when you just see someone that's where they're meant to be and they're like sharing those passions, those insights for the world, I don't know, it just sets something within you and you just feel like, oh, I can achieve anything that I want to. And I think more people need to feel that feeling, because as you say, it's not going to be easy. Like, if you want to chase your goals or chase your dreams, but who knows what you can achieve if you just set on that journey for going after them. Whereas often people don't start that journey, and we're not saying it will be easy, but who knows what's on the other side if you don't actually take the step and go for it.
Right. So, last question. Imagine your future vision is a reality, that the world is a nicer, kinder place, and there's less hatred and division, and we're cooperating together and trying to make the world a better place. So your vision is real. It's happened. How do you feel? What's your feeling now?
I guess like happy, just that it's come true, and I don't know. I just think, I just see when you see pockets of that, it's just it makes you happy and it makes the world more positive. And I guess just uplifted and I think I don't know how to describe it. I just feel like you have that really nice fuzzy feeling that everyone always really likes, and just feel warm, and you just probably feel really content. And I think it's just a really lovely feeling when people are just really, like, I've had it when I've been to a few environments where there's just been the atmosphere being really lovely, and then you, even after the event or the day after, you probably still have that same like uplifting positive energy from that event, because that atmosphere, that energy has just kind of stayed with you throughout.
Yeah. Well, Ramandeep, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real joy for me to get to know you and speak with you, and that warm fuzzy feeling you're describing, I'm kind of feeling it right now. I've fed off of your positive energy and just your enthusiasm for everything that you're doing and the life that you're leading, and I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to have talked with you today. So thank you for your time, and I'd look forward to sharing your journey and helping promote all the things that you're working on. So,
and vice versa. I'm very.
I'll leave you with the last word.
I'm very grateful as well for you letting me speak on your podcast, and just getting to share my thoughts and many thoughts and experiences with you. And I have the same feeling too. Just to getting to speak to one and with you has been really like positive and really uplifting. So thank you again for letting me be on your podcast.
All right. Well, cheers and best of wishes for everything that you have in front of you. It sounds like you've got a great adventure that you're on. So thank you again, and I look forward to staying in touch with you as you unfold your journey. So thank you, and we'll talk later.
Bye.
Goodbye. Well, all right. We're at the end of episode number 3 of Stories Sustain Us. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Ramandeep Nijjar for joining me today. I have to say, to me, Ramandeep's call for action shows a maturity and wisdom beyond her years, right? I mean, come on now. How could you not be impressed by her? Her emphasis on kindness and love and support and positivity, that was really moving to me. And it got me thinking. It got me thinking about what life might have been like for her or for other young people who've had to grow up in these last 2 decades, and just how different it was from my experience growing up in the 70s and 80s. Um, I didn't have to deal with social media uh, growing up. That just wasn't a thing that I had to worry about. You already have the pressures in middle school and high school and college of trying to fit in and figure out who you are and what you believe in and who your friend groups are and all that. That's still there for kids today, but you add on just the trouble that social media can bring into that, and Surgeon General's thinking about putting a warning on social media because it can damage the development of youth brains and emotions, right? So that's a real thing kids have had to deal with these last couple of decades that just didn't exist when I was growing up. And we had the Cold War, right? There was U.S. and Soviet Union. That was a thing, and there was real threats, at least the sense of a real threat about what nuclear war would mean, the end of life, basically. So that threat was there, but it seems so distant and far off. Last couple decades, that nuclear threat is still kind of there, right? There's still tensions between, national countries and powers, and the United States and Russia and other folks are still kind of at each other's throats a bit. So there's a second Cold War, it seems like, brewing in these last couple of decades. But there have been real wars, Iraq and Afghanistan and Ukraine, and now Gaza, and, everything that's going on there. There's been just real things going on, real violence going on that the youth of the last couple of decades have had to experience. And in the United States, in addition, talking about violence, I did duck and cover drills in elementary school because of this nuclear war that could happen, which seems so distant. So the duck and cover drills, were not that scary. But kids, at least in the United States, are doing active shooter drills, right? Because that threat is real. They know it's real. They've seen it happen time and time and time again, at least in the United States. And I imagine, a kid in elementary school or middle school doing an active shooter drill actually feels that fear more than I ever did doing a duck and cover drill, in the 70s and 80s. So there's just different threats today that seem much more real, I think, that the youth have had to deal with. And on top of all of that is the real threat of climate change that I think the youth of today seem to understand better the threats of it, right? We're already experiencing extreme droughts and storms and hurricanes and wildfires, and the evidence that climate change is happening, and the real threat that in the next few decades it's going to get worse. I think for the youth of today, they recognize that as a threat to their future, so they've got that to deal with as well. So it just is hard for me to wrap my mind around and go, wow, what would it have been like to grow up in these last 20 years? And what would I be doing? How would I be handling that? Which is what makes Ramandeep's story so moving to me. I find her to be an incredibly impressive young person. She's just putting herself out there, getting involved, creating and leading new organizations, and making a real difference at such a young age. And it's so impressive to me. It really brings me immense joy and optimism knowing that Ramandeep and other young activists like her are out there striving to make the future a better place, not just for themselves, but clearly from the way she shared about making alliances and bringing other people along. She's trying to make the world a better place for everyone, creatures and humans and everything. And that's just, again, brings me joy knowing that she's out there and other youth activists like her are out there just trying to make the world a better place. So I can't wait to support her new youth-centered podcast, Generation Nature. Please go check out the show notes for this episode, where you'll be able to get links to that website and every other organization and activity that she talked about, from the film that she was in and everything else. Just go check out all the links on the show notes, and I encourage you to support all that she's doing as well. As Ramandeep mentioned, she pointed out we all need to open doors and provide young people with opportunities to find and use their voices. So I, for one, heard that message, and I look forward to bringing more youth activists on the show in the future to help with that. So with that, speaking of future shows, I want to give you a quick plug for next week's episode. My guest on Stories Sustain Us next week is an urban ecologist who is studying and advocating for the protection of all amphibians. So check it out. You're going to discover just how cool amphibians are, just in case you haven't thought about that lately. And you'll learn about some steps that you can take to protect freshwater ecosystems, which are vital for the survival of turtles and salamanders and frogs and even reptiles like snakes. So you're not going to want to miss it. So check it out. Tune in on July 9th, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow Stories Sustain Us. I would really appreciate it. I'm working hard on this show, and if you enjoy it, your support would be much appreciated. So you can also find everything else and episodes related to this show on our website, storiessustainus.com. So until next time, I'm Stephen Shower. Please take care of yourself and each other. Take care.